Today on Judge Porter.
She actually said, I don't know how this idiot passed the bar. And then the insult that she issued to the court immediately after making that comment was, I don't know how you passed the bar, Your Honor. And that, candidly, is where the
Does
contempt...
that sound familiar to you, ma'am?
It does not.
All rise. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. We're here for case number 6009, Sandrine Blake versus Judge Anita Emerson. Can you ladies come to the bench, please? Ms. Blake, good morning.
Good morning.
Judge,
Good morning, Your Honor.
I never would thought I would see you in my courtroom under these conditions. Before we get started, if you don't know, I know Judge Emerson quite well. We've been serving together she's been at it a lot longer than me, but we do know each other. But make no mistake about it, whatever goes on in this courtroom, my affiliation with her has no bearing on whatever judgment I make. Are we clear on that?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Now, I'm trying to understand why. I understand you're suing her?
For abuse of power, yes.
Oh, this is going to be interesting. Please, do tell. What's going on with this case?
So I was representing myself in a case prior, and basically I walked out of that courtroom. I didn't just walk out of that courtroom, but I was taken out of that courtroom, ended up in jail for nothing. I didn't do anything wrong.
Okay, if you were taken out of the courtroom and put in jail, were you held in contempt of court, or did you have a warrant, or
No, for contempt.
for contempt of
speaking out.
court? Okay,
Yes.
please continue.
I didn't break the law. I didn't do anything. I didn't even get to present the key evidence. I was charged also with obstruction of the court. And I am just really confused because I know that in this room, the whole point of the system is for justice.
Yes, ma'am.
And I felt like justice wasn't served, and then I ended up having to pay a price for something that I did not do.
Now, when you say you had to pay a price, you mean like literally, or did you have to pay a fine as well?
Basically, I've had a clean record. I'm not
Okay.
a criminal.
Well, let me ask you this: why were you in court to begin with? What brought you into court?
So, I was in a very bad car accident,
Okay.
and we were hit by a drunk driver, and I was asked, basically, I had to share my side of the story of what happened. And
Were you the one driving, or were you a passenger?
I was a passenger.
You were a passenger, so you were giving witness testimony to the incident.
Was,
Okay.
yes, I was.
Okay. Please continue.
And basically part of, you have to show the evidence that you have. Thankfully, I was able to record some of the scene. And it was a very emotional process for me anyway. The whole accident was very traumatizing. And next thing I know, as I was getting ready to have my video be shown of the scene of the accident, I didn't even get to show that video, and then I was taken out of the courtroom.
Okay. Judge Emerson, ma'am, are you familiar with the case that Ms. Blake is referring to? This car crash?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you give the court some insight as to what happened with not the part where she was held in contempt, but prior to that, the testimonies in that? Do you remember that case?
I do remember
Okay,
that case.
what happened with that?
Your Honor, Ms. Blake was indeed a passenger in a vehicle that was hit by an individual who's found to be intoxicated. Ms. Blake, it's important for the court to be aware, Ms. Blake is an influencer. She considers herself to be a social media influencer.
Okay.
The video that she made at the scene of the accident was not for the purposes of retaining evidence. It was actually for the purposes of her social media following. The police officer who was investigating that crime, because she and the passengers in that vehicle were victims of a drunk driver, was trying to do his job by obtaining all the evidence he could at that scene. Ms. Blake refused to move out of the location where the officer needed her to move from. She was argumentative. She was disruptive of
Now, was that to the officer or was that in your court?
both,
Okay.
actually.
Let me ask, okay, let's jump to this other part. What happened where you felt that you did issue a contempt of court to her?
I did.
Okay, why did you do that?
I did. So when I sentenced her for that obstruction of justice, I found her in contempt of court because Ms. Blake was so vocal, so vociferous in her objection to my sentencing her for the obstruction of justice. She felt as though the court was being unfair, that I was judging her unjustly, and that she was being victimized. So she actually at some point did comment and make an insulting comment to the court, which was me. She actually was represented by counsel, Your Honor, just to make sure you're absolutely clear. I know she said she was there representing herself. She did talk much more than the attorney that she had retained,
She talked more than her attorney.
inordinately more.
Does that sound familiar? I'm not saying you did or you didn't. I'm just saying you said some things that were questionable.
The only thing is that I definitely did not agree with the sentence.
Okay, all right, I got that part. As far as the attorney, why did you tell me that you already had, that you represented yourself?
Because I was representing myself.
So did you have an attorney at your table during the proceeding?
No.
No. Okay.
If I may, Your Honor, that is absolutely incorrect.
Okay.
At the initial hearing, Ms. Blake did advise the court that she was and would be represented by counsel. She appeared with her attorney. However, during the course of the hearing, she was disrespectful to the attorney. She actually said, "I don't know how this idiot passed the bar." And then the insult that she issued to the court immediately after making that comment was, "I don't know how you passed the bar, Your Honor." And that, candidly, is where the
Does
contempt.
that sound familiar to you, ma'am?
It does not. And honestly, I'm surprised that somebody in her position is even able to say these things in the court.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I do not know, I don't have the case of this car crash. The driver that hit them, were they citizens?
Yes, they were
Okay.
charged, and I sentenced
Did
them.
you have an issue with that other person being charged for the accident? You were happy with that, correct?
That, but I also don't understand when I was the victim of the car accident.
Well, the thing is, the officer, from what Judge Emerson is telling us, the officer charged you with obstructing his or her investigation at that scene. Okay, I don't have the documentation, I don't have the officer, so I can't really go into it. I have to go by the word of the judge. But the thing is, that officer charged you with that. She had nothing to do with that. She was just following up on the investigation that says, okay, yeah, she obstructed, I'm gonna charge you with this. You said some things that you didn't agree. The judge thought it was disrespectful to the court. She charged you with contempt. That is why you were taken out. Okay, now, as far as you're suing her and giving her an abuse of power, for abuse of power, is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, I made my ruling on this. I made my ruling. Here's the thing. I can't overturn what she said as far as your conviction on the obstruction. I can't overturn her holding you in contempt of court, okay? It's her courthouse, her rules, just like this room right here. My courtroom, my rules. If you violate or disrespect this particular room, I hold you in contempt of court. I may fine you, whatever the case may be. She felt that it was necessary for you to be removed and arrested. Did she have to pay a fine, or it was just,
For the contempt,
yeah, did you charge her for a fine, or was it just jail?
just jail time, 10
How-
days.
how- 10 days?
Yes.
Did you serve all 10?
I have yet to serve them.
Okay, okay,
And that's in addition to the 5 days for the obstruction of justice and the 1,000 hours of community service work that I had
okay,
sentenced.
ma'am, here's the thing. You have to go through the proper channels, okay? I understand that you want to sue her, but I'm not in a position to say, yes, what she did was absolutely wrong, and she needs to be held accountable. As far, we're talking about a judge. There's a process that you have to go through. You have to file your grievance, because we all have supervisors, okay? Yes, I am the judges, but we have supervisors. We have courts that are higher than ours. You have to file through those channels if you want what you believe to be justice to be served. Am I making sense here?
Yes, I was in a terrible car accident.
I
It was
understand.
very traumatizing. I apologize for any behavior that I had on the scene.
And
I
I'm
mean,
pretty sure that, what about your performance in court? Are you apologizing for that too? Because the person you need to apologize is standing right there.
I apologize if I came off a certain way to you, but
But here's the thing, ma'am, if you want to go forward, okay, and you want to file what we call a judicial review against her and her policy, and did you say that you didn't know if she was qualified, or did you
No.
actually make that statement or something like that? You don't know how to pass the bar. Did you say something like that?
no, I
You
didn't.
recall?
I actually
Okay.
have the record, Your Honor. I do have the court
Okay.
reporter was typing the entire time, so it may be she does not recall.
Yeah, I'm pretty
but-
sure the stenographer caught all that. But you have to go file a judicial review, and you have to file an appeal of her ruling. But the thing, to sue her because she ruled against you, I can't reverse anything that she did, okay? So unfortunately, your lawsuit, I'm gonna throw that out. Now, I gave you the channels that you need to go to if you think that she's incompetent and ruled against you, but that's done through the appeal process, not in this court.
So is there any way that I can, not go to jail, basically?
Her decision has been made. I can't reverse that. Her decision has been made, okay?
Why would you
can't,
send me to jail?
ma'am, not in my courtroom. That question is not in my courtroom. That should have been done in her courtroom, not mine. If she sentenced you to, 10 days for contempt, 5 days for the obstruction, you have to serve that, okay? I'm sorry, did you say there was a fine included to that?
There was 1,000 hours of community service work.
And community service, you gotta serve that. If you feel that you've been done, if the sentence was wrong, you have the ability to appeal. Find yourself a good attorney, never represent yourself, that's always a bad idea, and file the appeal. If you think she's incompetent, judicial review. A good attorney will tell you how to go about all that stuff, okay, ma'am? But I have to throw this out. I'm sorry, this case is dismissed.
I don't even know what to say right now. Judge Porter and all the other judges in the country and in the world are complete idiots if they can't see that injustice was done right here today in the, can I say that word? In the whatever. You know what? Screw the system. I don't care if I go to jail. I don't care if they see me as a criminal. You know what? I will freaking cut my hair off and I'll be the convict for the rest of my life.
Well, I have to say I'm relieved. I'm grateful to Judge Porter. He is a great judge and certainly ruled, I believe, correctly in this particular circumstance. Ms. Blake does continue to need to be taught a lesson, and so I'm hoping she will be able to learn from this, but I'm very grateful to be able to move on in my career.